Media, Ondine Fortune.
Good afternoon. We got a good group here. First off, I want to thank our sponsor of this fabulous presentation we're going to have, and it's Customized Newspaper and Metro Iowa Plus, who I brought in as an AAP sponsor because we have utilized their one-order newspaper and buying service, and we know that others in this association would benefit as well. Tom Small is right here. I'd ask you to... Those of you who are in the media buying industry, I would recommend that you stop by and see Tom and talk to him about what he has to offer. We have had fabulous relationship with him. This is their second year as a sponsor, and we hope to continue the relationship for years to come. And now I would like to introduce Whit Ayers, President of Ayers McHenry, and also AAPC President.
Thank you, Ondine. Thank you, Ondine, and welcome to all of you for our final panel and final general session of this 20th Poly Conference. We promised you some of the biggest names in political consulting and political journalism AAPC produces. We have got a crackerjack panel here, and I'm really looking forward to a lively discussion about the 2012 presidential election. We also have something else you can try, thanks to Chris Nolan of Spot On. If you have an iPhone or an iPad and would like to try a test of an audience people meter, you can download the app at spoton.com/trendspotter, and that will give you an opportunity to indicate when one of these guys makes an incredibly insightful comment. You can mark it on your little people meter. We have an amazing panel here this afternoon, more experience than you can possibly imagine, both doing presidential politics and covering presidential politics. Charlie Black is the chairman of the Prime Policy Group. He has been a senior advisor to virtually every Republican president and presidential candidate since Ronald Reagan. The first thing you do when you become a presidential nominee, if he's not already on your team, is get Charlie Black on your team. And that's one of the reasons why he was last year's Republican inductee to the AAPC Hall of Fame. Please welcome Charlie Black. Larry Grisolano has a long history working for progressive causes. His most recent claim to fame, and it's a big one, was serving as the director of paid media and opinion research for the Obama for President campaign in 2008. He is the CEO of AKPD, a firm that David Axelrod made famous, and I suspect you may have some role in perhaps the 2012 presidential campaign.
I'm certainly hoping so.
Well, okay, all right. Well, we're counting on it too. Please welcome Larry Grisolano. Jonathan Martin is one of the fastest rising stars of American political journalism. He is the senior political writer. Did I say something wrong? He is the senior political writer for Politico. He continually breaks news stories with Politico. He is a beautiful writer, a clear thinker, a groundbreaking reporter, and a guy you're going to be reading about for years and years and years. Please welcome Jonathan Martin. Ron Brownstein is back for another turn at the AAPC podium. 2 years ago at the Gaylord, he wowed us with his encyclopedic knowledge of American politics and demographics. He is the National Journal Group editorial director. He's been twice named a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize for his presidential reporting in 1996 and 2004. He writes a regular column for National Journal and The Atlantic. Please welcome one of the most prominent political reporters in the land, Ron Brownstein. I'd like to start us off by giving each of these gentlemen a few minutes just to give their lay of the land about the 2012 presidential election, similarities, differences from the past, anything that they think we should keep an eye on, and then we'll have a whole series of questions and a discussion, including some time for questions from the audience. So let's just go right down the road. Charlie, what's going to happen?
Well, thank you, Whit, and thanks again to everyone for the honor you bestowed on me a year ago. I was greatly appreciative of that. Let me talk about the Republican side first for a minute. The race for the Republican nomination is developing a little more slowly than usual. Now, part of that may relate to the fact that we have pushed the calendar back, and we'll have the first 4 events in February, but theoretically, the race might not be decided till sometime in April. Now, Florida may mess up that calendar because they're considering going earlier than the RNC rules provide. But as we sit here today in mid-March, we don't know who all's in the race, which is unusual. There are at least 4 prominent, major contenders that we do not know yet if they're running. Those being Haley Barbour, Mitch Daniels, Mike Huckabee, and Sarah Palin. And there are other, perhaps lesser-known candidates who still haven't made decisions and could still get in. So it's developing a little bit later. I suspect you should know the lineup by the time of the Reagan Library debate in early May, but maybe not. There are at least a couple of those folks I named who could decide to get in even later than that. Governor Romney is the front runner, but not by much. He's just barely a front runner. He's got the experience of having run before. He's still got some organization around the country, and obviously he has the fundraising capability. But this is pretty much a wide open race, and it's going to be hard to handicap it until we at least know what the lineup is. Let me just say a little bit about the general election. President Obama is certainly the favorite to be reelected. Incumbent presidents are always the favorite. And in his case, President Obama's campaign skills and the skills of the people who ran his campaign cannot be taken lightly. They will, again, run a marvelous campaign, and all the mechanics and all his personal campaigning will be absolutely first class. But that said, there's a big difference in running a campaign as an outsider and running one as an incumbent president. Incumbent presidents have an awful lot of events happen to them that are outside their control. And while I think President Obama is the favorite, I also think there's a decent chance he could lose re-election. Let me just list 4 threats to President Obama's re-election. First, if the economy doesn't get much better or stays about the same, and more importantly, if the voters perceive that the economy is still not good and not creating enough jobs, that's a big threat to him. Secondly, there's an awful lot going on in the world right now. We still have 2 wars. You now have the Middle East and North Africa in a period of great change. So chaos in any 1 or 2 of those countries would provide a big challenge to the president. You still have North Korea and Iran sitting out there as threats that could provoke a crisis on any given day. So what will happen on the foreign affairs front and how he handles it could become a significant issue in the election and a possible threat to him. Third, if the president does not back down on his big government philosophy, spending, taxes, deficits, more national debt, that's a huge threat to him. Because what happened in the last election is that the independent voters said, and that's what the Tea Party movement was all about too, was, hey, too much spending, too many deficits, too much debt. We want to cut back on the size and scope of government. Fourth, the other threat to his reelection would be if we have a Republican nominee who can successfully advocate for smaller government and for making the painful choices that would get you less spending, lower deficits. If this Republican nominee, if he or she can advocate for that and also tie it, explain how smaller government creates economic growth and produces jobs, that kind of a successfully presented message would be a threat to the president. Now, let me finish by pointing out, if of those 4 threats, only one is really under the president's control. Presidents can't do a whole lot about the economy. They can't determine what kind of foreign crises are going to erupt, and they can't control who the other party nominates. The third one, the question of big government, is under his control. Should he decide to go reach across party lines and make a significant grand bargain on cutting spending and entitlements and reducing deficits and debt, should that happen, that would go a long way toward helping him get reelected. I do not believe he will do that.
Thank you, Charlie. Larry, what's your take on it?
Thank you. Well, first of all, it's heartening to get re-election political advice from Charlie. So thank you. Can we? I know you said all the Republicans had to sign him up. Can we sign him up?
Well, you'll get your part right.
But I think on a couple of things, the landscape coming into this election is very intriguing for those of us who went through the 2008 election. Because in that election, as Charlie mentioned, certainly on the Democratic side, we'd started a little bit sooner, and we went through this very dramatic nominating process that ran until the middle of the year, and really not only occupied the direction of our campaign, but really the attention of the electorate for a very long period of time. So I find, as somebody who is mostly interested in the Obama side of this campaign, a very different kind of set of circumstances in front of us. And I think that you can see the obvious advantages and disadvantages to that, but this isn't a place where we're center stage every day in the campaign side of the world. The other thing that I think is interesting, and I do want to address the colleagues and fellow political professionals here, is I think we're going to once again see, from a kind of political campaigning standpoint, a whole new dramatic set of things go on in terms of how we conduct our campaigns, how we mobilize and communicate with people. If you think about in 2004, when Howard Dean on the Democratic side kind of electrified the political world by setting up an online community, an online set of supporters numbering a few 100,000. That was revolutionary, and then you just fast forward another 4 years to 2008, and the kinds of tools we had and the kinds of organization we built for the Obama campaign. There were generations of leaps forward in that 4-year period. So as I look forward from what was done in 2008 to what's going to be done in 2012, in terms of how technology allows us to build a grassroots army, to have an operation that empowers people and the democratizing power of these tools, I think that you're going to see that all kind of fast forward in a way that is even a quicker pace than we saw between 2004 and 2008. And if anybody is at all skeptical about that, there's the mass movements that are going on around the world right now, to which Charlie alluded, and you see these technologies moving people all over the world in this dramatic fashion. So I think those are some of the kind of setups from my perch. Some of the things that are coming forward. I think we're going to have a debate about the role of government. I think we're going to have a debate about spending and ideas. And I think we're going to have a debate about how optimistic and confident we are as Americans moving into the future, and whether we're in a place where we're going to assert ourselves economically based on strengths and confidence, or whether there's a mood of fear and defeatism, that there's things that we can't do. And I think the president's got a very strong basis from which to tell people what it is we can do and where we're going to go, and that place that we're going to get to when we follow a continued path to recovery.